Alright fellas, here we are back in Pokemon Masters. Today we're going to be going over the Sygna Suit Kanto Trio PokeFair Scout, as well as the Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon Elio and Selene PokeFair Double Scout. Yes, this video should have been out yesterday, but guess who's a lazy fucker? Me, that's right. So I just opted to not do it. I'm sorry. I apologize. I could use the excuse it was Christmas, but I'm not going to. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah, of course the Scout drops today. Before the video does begin, I do want to say, hosting the Pokemon Masters EX Awards of 2024 right here. If you want to see how that goes, click on this video. You know, it gives you a little bit of information on the criteria. Stop. Okay, stop. And then if you go to the description here, there is the voting form for you to be able to click on and, you know, watch all that. Participate in it, all that stuff. We've got like 300 some submissions right now. I would love to get some more just so we can get a good, broader, more very versatile range of people who are actually inserting their votes and whatnot. So, hey, if you want to vote for it, go ahead. The voting should end. It's either going to be today or tomorrow. I have not made a complete decision yet, but I'll let everyone know in a community note when it's about to end, so you can get some final votes in. You know, share it with friends, stuff like that. Also, if you want to be a channel member, I am doing exclusive member videos over the Legend of Zelda Spirit tracks. So, if you want to watch a playthrough before anyone else, become a channel member for $2. It's about it, and of course not required for normal content viewing, and this series will become public content once it is completely finished. Once the game is beaten and the credits roll, I will put it all in an unlisted playlist for everyone to be able to view. But if you want to have it early, you know, as I'm playing the game, you know, make a comment, whatever, channel member for $2. That's it. Anyway, of course, never will be required. Anyway, Elio and Selene and Red, Blue, and Leaf. These scouts, in terms of value, definitely do not hold even, you know, the slightest bit of importance to, you know, the champion reruns of Red, Leaf, and Blue, the new Sygna Suit Giovanni that's going to be coming out on New Year's, a lot of the stuff, frankly, that's going to be coming out in January, as well as, like, even Arc Suit Leon, right? Not really holding a lot of value compared to those other banners. But these scouts do have certain effects to them, and one thing that really annoys me with these PokeFair scouts still, they have not made Super Awakening any easier to get since its debut, which again, it's only been like 2 months, so, you know, we could get some more stuff around the half anniversary maybe, so I'm going to kind of hold my tongue on, you know, bashing that until that point. But I really think they should make it to where old dupes of PokeFair characters should count for Super Awakening, because this is a scout that is very dependent upon Super Awakening. Not really. I mean, the scout, like, these characters are still good at 5 out of 5, but, like, they're really good at 10 out of 5, and I feel like it would have just been within their best interest to have this be one of the scouts that debuts in the wake of a new update that makes it so extra dupes with PokeFairs past 5 out of 5 gives you Super Awakening levels, and maybe at 10 out of 10, if you end up pulling that character again, it could give you a Super Awakening candy. That's just my idea. I honestly think that's the way they should go about it, but of course, you know, maybe at 10 out of 10 it gives them a 5-star power-up, you know, I mean, that could be fair enough as well, right? But point is that these scouts, why do these not give 10 out of 10? They really should. Having to invest candies, no way to get 10 out of 10 via dupes is really, really weird. It means people can't directly pay for, I mean, you can pay in the form of getting the candy every single month, right? Every single 20 days, the gold candy coins that give you a gold candy, right? But you can't directly pay gems in order to pull dupes for Super Awakening, which I feel that would be within their best interest, right? But whatever. So how do these scouts work? So the Sygna Suit Kanto Trio Scout, if you've already seen it, then, you know, you've already seen it. But we do have one scout that contains all of them. It's a triple feature scout here. This is 1.5% rates. It's the usual banner format, right? 4.5% rates total, and you can pick up Red, Leaf, or Blue. Same type of scout as a new Is it the same for if a new player joins right now? Because I know a new player right now, they get that big PokeFair, like, all scout. But do they also get the Kanto Trio rerun scout? I honestly don't remember. Anyway, it doesn't really matter too much. Point is it's basically just a, you know, regular triple feature scout, right? There's also a special scout for each of them that costs 5,000 pay gems each that will give you a 25 unit multi for the character. This is not a select. If you are thinking it is a select scout, it is not a select scout. You do not get to choose or guarantee yourself one copy of these characters per summon or anything like that. All you get is a 25 unit multi, which could get you the character, could get you multiple copies of the character, but it's not guaranteed. They are 2% regular rates to pull within those 25 pulls. The big kicker about it is that it gives you a move candy of whatever that character's role is. So if you pull Sygna Suit Leaf, you'll get a tech candy. If you pull Sygna Suit Blue, you get a support candy. You pull red, you get a strike, right? And that is the most valuable part of the scout, or what is really the reason that it costs 5,000 pay gems to begin with. You get a 25 unit multi, and you get yourself a move candy on top of it, which can be used for Super Awakening, or, you know, just to increase a move level from 1 out of 5 to any other move level, right? So that is the big value of the scout. Does it make it worth it? That's really up to you. I was considering doing Sygna Suit Leaves, but then I remembered I had to do daily discounts on like 500,000 characters, so I'm just gonna leave it as is. But if you pay pay money for gems or whatever, and you want to go for it, I mean, go for it. But that is really the big kicker of the scout, is that, you know, those paid scouts, right? Otherwise, it's just for the non-paid, you know, the free-to-play users or players. It is literally just a 3,000 regular scout that has 4.5% total featured rates, 1.5% rates for each of these specific characters. No extra rewards or anything beyond that, right? The Elio and Selene scout is also just a normal double feature PokeFair scout. It's got 1.5% rates each, 3% total, no presents, I believe. I mean, I doubt it's got presents. None of them previously have. Yeah, it's just a regular scout here, lasts until the 6th of January, so not very long either. This, for some reason, I don't know why the scout doesn't last that long. High score event, ice. I really feel that this event should have lasted a little bit until the ice and rock high score event, because if you know about the Datamine or whatever, and you plan to like rank in the ice and rock high score event, these two characters are probably going to perform very well. I don't know the actual direct boosts or whatever for the high score event, but Elio is going to be an amazing support, right? He's just going to be very, very good for like tanking attacks. His supports tend to be very, very good for that game mode, and Selene is going to be an extremely strong, relatively easy to use damage dealer that can probably net a lot of points on her own as well, right? So I mean, these characters are going to be good for the game mode, the high score event, if you want to actually, you know, try and at least make the mode easier to get higher points, and not like, even if you don't want to rank, right? They do, of course, have their own triple feature scout here at January 10th, you know, Grusha, Powell, and Blue, but I don't really, they really probably should have made this rerun until that point. Either way, it doesn't matter. This is also for the new Neo Champion Kanto thing, right? The Kanto Paseo Special Stadium versus Champion Blue. This is what that's for. It's all rock week, so they want you to pull for some rock characters, or they want to, I guess, give you a better chance if you pull for some rock characters. So, yeah. How do these characters all fare? I mean, the Kanto trio go from being good at high investment to really good at a very high investment. That's about the best way I can describe it. I'm just going to filter by Kanto. That makes this easier, actually. Filtering by type just makes it harder to find each character I want. Okay, so Sygna Suit Red, good damage dealer with high investment, mostly. At 1 out of 5, he doesn't really have too much. He's mostly just got, let's give him the best, mostly the best case, level 156 star AX. He's got very good offensive stats, 486. The defenses are kind of poor, but it's whatever, it doesn't really matter. HP is fine, speed's fine. Blast Burn, 178 power. These are like decent traits, but he's got no multipliers. He's got no real other utility other than a little bit of Sync Acceleration and the fact he can never miss, which is decent utility. And he can Mega Evolve, giving him even higher offenses. These are very, very good offensive stats. 583 special attack is really good. And still, that's mostly it for him. He's got good self-sufficiency with being able to buff his crit, special attack, and attack as well once he Mega Evolves. Yeah, right here. But for the most part, nothing really crazy with Red's base kit. I mean, this used to be really good. You know, these used to be good traits, but a lot of modern strikers come in with stronger attacks for 1 at 1 out of 5, and actual like multipliers. Like, I guess we could find a decent example. I guess maybe I'll look at Kanto Strikes. No, can't look at Kanto Strikers because they are all Master Fairs. Let's look at some strikes that are PokeFair, just as a decent similar example. Sygna Suit Hilda is not a bad one to look at. Sygna Suit Hilda, she comes in similar fashion, similarly high offensive stat, right? Actually, it's literally better than Red until he Mega Evolves. 2 strong base power moves, one of them being 200 power at minimum. Self-sufficiency completely in her offensive stat here. Both of her offensive stats and crit, and also +1 accuracy. So that's really crazy, just all in one move, right? Fierce Entries for that, you know, the attack buffs there. Recharging Strike for gauge management and downside up, giving her stat raises instead of stat debuffs, right? So she doesn't have exact multipliers, it's similar to Red, right? But she does have actually even just straight up higher base power and whatnot as opposed to him, right? So that's just how that's just how a lot of strikers nowadays come built in. They just have those built-in high offensive stats and high self-sufficiency levels, and potentially sometimes even like a multiplier, right? Red with dupes, 5 out of 5 dupes. I mean, you can go various move levels here, but Red really appreciates all of his move levels for the most part. He gets Standfast 5, Standfast 9, Sharp Entry 1, Sync Move Boost, Solar Flare, Sync Boost, Sync Thinker, Soften Up, Solar Flare, Haymaker, Adrenaline, a few other things like a Rejuvenate and Speeding Sun and Trainer Propulsion, but for the most part, these are the tiles you're not even really looking at most of the time. It's just like somewhat looking at, if anything. Having Solar Flare 5 and Haymaker gives him 150% Sync Nuke multipliers, which obviously that's pretty good. I mean, combined with the fact that he got the Tech EX roll, which increases his offenses to over 600 post-Mega Evolution, which is nuts, and it obviously increases his sync power as well. He's going to be hitting quite hard for a striker, right? Well, I say for a striker. He's going to be hitting quite hard for an older striker, mostly because he's enhanced extremely well under Chase. Chase being one of his best supports is able to enhance him extremely well. I got to find him right here because he's able to apply the Kanto Circle, apply special moves, next buffs, and of course that Kanto Circle is like the big one, right? Especially because you can also pair them up with Champion Leaf, who lowers enemy fire rebuff, debuffs enemy defenses, and also applies Sun, giving Red amazing partners to work off of. They'll also consider a lot of other characters can work off these partners as well. So, still, either way, he's really strong just because of that. He can hit extremely hard still, even just, despite his age, but, you're going to want a lot of investment for that for the most part. Soften Up 1 here guarantees crits on the Sync moves. It makes your damage a lot more consistent, right? You're going to be able to guarantee crits on the Sync move, which is just honestly far better oftentimes than picking up like certain multipliers like this Solar Flare 2 is just less valuable than Soften Up because you're very, very unlikely to actually manage to land your Sync crit anyway, so... Or like you're not going to manage to land your Sync crit on some of your enemies, which overall is just going to decrease the amount of damage that you do compared to if you were to have guaranteed crits with Soften Up, rather. Sync Thinker 9 giving you special moves next after using the Sync move. That's good for chaining into a strong Blast Burn. It's going to be hitting pretty hard even without any like direct multipliers, right? Because again, that rebuff, Chase's Circle, and stuff like that, if you have those characters, is going to be making it hit really, really hard. Also, if he's got like Weathered Warrior as a lucky skill or Critical Strike or something, then of course it's going to be better there too. He's also got Propulsion here for more Sync countdown on the Trainer move, because he is pretty good for Sync acceleration too. I mean, that's one of his bigger things. He's got Propulsion 1, Propulsion 9 here. You can chain that with -2 Sync countdown. Combine that with a character, again, like Chase, who can do Sync acceleration, and it pairs up extremely well. And there's obviously other examples of other characters that you can use for Sync accelerating, like other fire types like Sygna or whatever, just as an example to throw out there. With Super Awakening here at 10 out of 10, of course, Red stats go up even more. 659 special attack is nuts. He's got over 1,000 HP. Stats are good, right? And of course, he's got himself the passive. Solar Sync here, giving him Weather on or Sun on the Sync move is actually pretty useful. At least I think so. Simply because... sorry, he's able to combine that with a character like Champion Leaf, who has only her other 2 sets of Sun off of her Buddy move and her own Solar Sync here, and that can actually provide a Sun for most of the battle, and free up that support slot from Sygna Suit Morty, just as an example, probably going to be the best support for setting Sun, to again throw in someone like Chase, where you can still maintain your Sun and all your damage and have that optimal support that is providing the best damage support possible for this character. Entry Special Boost and Entry Sync Boost, these just make his first uses of Blast Burn and his Sync move a lot stronger. You're going to preferably want to wait to use, I guess, your first Blast Burn until you actually have Chase or Leaf's Sync move used, to where you can have that -1 or -2 fire rebuff and support EX, right? And be able to actually do some good damage off that Blast Burn. I don't think the Entry Special Boost is that crazy, but the Entry Sync Boost is pretty decent. That first Sync move, which is probably going to be after both Leaf and Chase's, is going to be hitting quite hard, right? With those multipliers he's got, plus that 30% extra with the Sync move up next, and even more if you end up running him with a support or some type of character that can raise his Sync move up next, which... mostly would probably end up being Arc Suit Steven, but if we ever get one in the future that is more dedicated to helping out fire types or Kanto characters or whatever, then, well, Red's going to be benefiting just straight up from that. So, yeah, I mean, Red's still decent, but he's going to want a lot of investment, man. Those offensive stats can really carry him a ton, but, you know, he wants like 10 out of 10 for the super high stats, and at least 5 out of 5 in order to actually have his multipliers with Solar Flare and Haymaker and all of that, right? So that's probably one of his, definitely his biggest downside, and that's kind of how it goes for a lot of these Kanto Trio Scout characters. Sygna Suit Blue is not really in a better spot. His base kit was considered so bad on release or whatever that they ended up having to buff him, which made him like the best support in the game or something like that. But I wasn't really there, so I'm not even gonna bother trying to talk on it. His base kit here's got Force Field 4, Team Shout, Safety Net, as well as X Defense All, and his Trainer Move, which applies Gauge Acceleration and buffs Crit. These are decent abilities all on their own, but for the most part, this doesn't really apply what you would want a modern support to apply, which would be healing, or like Sync Move, Special Move, Physical Moves, Next buffs, a Circle, Enemy Type rebuff, or something along those lines, right? Or some sort of maybe disruption like flinching. Granted, he's got Confusion, but it's Confusion, not really. Confusion's good for deactivating multipliers, not useful outside of that too much, though it doesn't. I mean, it can be helpful, just it's one of the lesser valuable like type of interferences in terms of being able to actually like disrupt enemies. Yeah, that's mostly the issue with Blue, is that like he's got good defensive buffing ability, solid. I'm not really gonna say good. He's able to buff special defense with Force Field, buff defenses with X Defense All. That's good, but he doesn't apply healing, and he doesn't apply much offensive enhancement outside of literally just being able to buff the offensive stats. Like the sync move, physical, special moves up next, circles. Those are the best way to apply like offensive enhancement or rebuff, whatever. But really, you know, from how old Blue is, he doesn't really have those traits necessarily. And Safety Net for Endurance on all allies. That's pretty good, Safety Net, but again, he does want that HP recovery. His gauge is also pretty good too, with like Gauge Acceleration here, as well as Trainer with Pep Rally, which he gets just at 1 out of 5, which is pretty damn good too. Red, yeah, again, Blue does want dupes. He does want dupes to do a lot of his job. Team Trash Tank and Team Fist Bump, these are two of the biggest ones here, giving him HP recovery for being able to take an attack and be able to use an attack. But also, this is a 30% chance for each for tick healing, so it's not really the greatest healing either. He wants Adrenaline 1 for Sync, and well, he doesn't want Adrenaline 1, but Adrenaline 1 is nice for the Sync Acceleration after using his Sync move. Combine that with the Sprint EX roll, and he can do a ton of Sync Acceleration. That's pretty good, right? He's got First Aid 4, which is good healing for himself, but obviously it's only one usage of it, it's only for himself, and it's, you know, kind of reliant upon you getting low on HP to begin with in order to actually make usage of. So, I mean, it's not really it's a good form of healing, it definitely is, for him, but it's not good for the team, and it's only, you know, one use, and it's not like potions where he can, you know, restore those almost infinitely, or at least, you know, with enough luck. Other abilities like Party Crashers, giving critical hit next to all allies on entry. I mean, I don't think that's great when he can already buff crit. I think it's fine, but not like an insane ability. Trainer Move NPR is good for the Gauge Acceleration, crit buffs, and the extra speed buffs it can apply. Team Raincoat, preventing allies from being crit in rain is pretty good, but of course, you know, you have to be running them in rain. Either way, though, crit protection in rain is nice. That prevents him from having to run Vigilance. You can run a different lucky skill, if you're in rain constantly at least. Refreshing Rain, getting himself more tick healing, makes his healing better. Like, if you're really running him with all of these healing abilities, then his healing's pretty good, but of course his main problem with healing is not really being able to apply it to the team. He's also pretty slow on offensive buffs. Grand Entry and Fierce Entry don't really help that much for him. The Team Shout is just pretty slow at buffing offenses, considering it's not like guaranteed to buff the offense you want, and of course it'll take at least 6 turns anyway to do, even if you do land the right offensive buff every single time, which is not guaranteed with Team Shout. And he's got himself a few other abilities like Hydro Cannon Propulsion for some Sync Acceleration, but, you know, that uses a 4-gauge move, right? And Free Avenge for some free moves next, which could you know, be combined pretty well with that propulsion, right? Or any other usage of Hydro Cannon. But for the most part, those are like his main abilities. Maybe Smart Cookie and Raging Rain if you want to do damage with him, but he's obviously, you know, not going to be focused on doing damage, as he's a supportive character with very low offensive stats compared to a character like, I don't know, who actually has really good offensive stats, right? And actually, you know, capable Sync Nuke and damage dealing damage dealing capabilities. Not really DPS, but high powered singular attacks, right? With Super Awakening, Blue's obviously his defensive stats go up, his offensive stats go up, his HP goes up. He gives himself really good defenses, really solid HP amount. I mean, he's got very good bulk. It still doesn't fundamentally fix the problem of him not having good team healing, And even then, the Super Awakening passive doesn't do that for him. He really is mostly going to be useful in like shorter battles, but I mean, he does have usage in longer battles. But you're really going to be running him with another character that can apply like potion healing or some sort of team HP recovery support, because that's again really what he's kind of lacking, at least in terms of like consistency. And looking at it, he doesn't even have like team gradual healing, which would have really helped him. Honestly, I think that would have been a good tile for him to have with team healing, but he doesn't even have that, which is pretty sad. He does have Free Venge 9, though, which is good for having to prevent you from using Free Venge 4 here. That basically gives you free usage of Hydro Cannon, which kind of enables better running of maybe Hydro Cannon propulsion, or being able to actually do damage with it if you wanted to do it that way. But of course, you also could just use this for having good gauge anyway, and not really caring about the Hydro Cannon related abilities. Training with Team Physical Boost is pretty decent as well. I don't know why. Well, Training with Team Physical Boost and then Team Smart Command. Buffing out physical and special moves next when the trainer uses a move. Obviously, you're going to want to run him with X Defense Alt NPR, Train with NPR anyway for these different abilities he gets off of it. So the fact that he can far better buff offensive stats this way is nice. Again, it just kind of solidifies that he's mostly going to be better for like short-term fights, I guess, like Champion Stadium fights and whatever else, or Battle Rally, whatever. Just because he's going to be trying to like end the fight as soon as possible, instead of like lasting out the opponent, considering he doesn't really have the abilities to do that anymore. Again, not a bad support, definitely not. You can get good usage out of him, anywhere with the right partners especially, but for the most part, as like a character that's going to be really carrying the backbone of your team, Sygna Blue is mostly aged out, I would say. I mean, he can do well, he can, with the right partners, just in terms of being a good support, like they can still safety net catch everything. Bring him into Annabelle's Ultimate Battle with like, say, even like Champion Serena and Dahlia or whatever. I guess it's a decent example. And I mean, he's going to struggle. That team's mostly going to clear that stage, probably because those characters are just naturally strong, not really because Blue can actually help him support. Sygna Leaf has the most utility out of all of the Kanto trio. Even just at 1 out of 5, she's got defensive debuffs, poison, and adrenaline 2 here, which is sync countdown on her sync move, potions for healing, in her trainer move Mega Healing, which restores, not restores HP, but applies gradual healing to all allies. It reduces sync countdown by 1, reducing sync countdown by 2 if the Venusaur has Mega evolved. So that's pretty decent. When using co-op, reduces sync countdown of all allies instead, whatever. And applies gradual healing. So good gradual healing, potion healing. She's kind of doing what Blue wanted to do. I mean, if you wanted to like look back at year 1 and run Sygna Suit the Kanto trio Sygna Suits, right? You would obviously want to use Leaf for your healing. She's got the gradual healing of the potions and also the debuffing utility, while Red's doing the damage and Blue's supporting Red's damage, or the team's bulk, whatever, right? Where again, Leaf's able to apply the healing, but again, in a modern scenario, that doesn't really translate too well, especially in just modern team compositions. Razor Leaf with the 2 uses, AoE damage. I mean, defensive debuffs, that's nice, AoE, as well as AoE poison. Frenzy Plant can be used for its own damage purposes, or of course, those same debuffing utilities, but it's mostly going to be used for damage, I guess. Leaf's offensive stat here, 322 special attack's not that great, especially under no multipliers, but really that's not why you're using her for the most part anyway. With her Mega Evolution, she does gain a better offensive stat. 386 special attack is quite solid, and 403 special defense is pretty damn funny, and great even, for a character under Support EX roll, which she did gain. The Support EX roll is good for her, just want to mention that. Giving her over 400 defenses, or special defense, that's great, and 336 defense naturally is also really, really good. Combine that again with the Adrenaline 2, Support EX display good usage for her. She's got the most utility and probably in turn most usability out of the entire Kanto trio, at least in my opinion, just because of that utility, which obviously is going to get better with varying levels of dupe investment, with Noxious Hit, being able to debuff offensive stats as well as defensive stats, Power Play in order to Sync Nuke, which she does also have Innate Poison, or Innate Poison as a multiplier, plus Relentless here, so she does have a lot of good Sync Nuke multipliers. 386 special attack stat backing that off. Sync Nuke is really, really good. Toxic Power 1 for a multiplier on her damage, which again isn't really what you're using her for probably for the most part, but it's there, as well as Toxic Power 5 up here and the grid at the very top, if you can't pick it up. I mean, she can do decent damage that way, or solid damage that way, but the Sync Nuke is probably her biggest thing you're going to want to aim for. Again, that Power Play, Relentless, and the Innate Poison is really, really good for multipliers. She's got other things as well, like Discombobulate on Frenzy Plant, which is good, very, very good for accuracy debuffs. I mean, that's great in the legendary arenas or any stage where you can really dodge, or of course, activating multipliers for any character that needs them. Venomous have a 30% chance of leaving the enemy poisoned when her move is successful against an enemy. You're better off just really hoping that you can land Venomous 4 here, but if the enemy, makes themselves be immune to poison, or not immune to poison, but they recover from poison by whatever method, which is rare, but if it happens, and you have Potent Toxin on Mega Evolution, you can't really apply it again. So if you want to try to apply it again once Leaf is Mega Evolved, well, Venomous here, Venomous 2, does that job for you. She's got other abilities as well, like Healing Sun, Speeding Sun, Potent Toxin, Pinpoint Entry, Hem In, help HP advantage as well. But for the most part, those are her best tiles. That Noxious Hit is great for debuffing enemy offenses, which is great for, multiplier activation and whatnot. But also really good for obviously making it to where she is bulkier, the team is bulkier, and of course, those potions work really, really well. Which the fact she gets Potion NPR at 1 out of 5 is already really, really solid. And then Potion Master Healer 2 here at 3 out of 5? Yeah, 3 out of 5. Pretty good. Is it 2 out of 5? Yeah, at 1 out of 5 she gets Potion NPR, and then 3 out of 5 Potion Master Healer. Pretty damn good, right? So, Leaf definitely, at least in my opinion, carries the most usability out of all of the Kanto trio, at least with dupes, like, 5 out of 5 dupe investment. And Super Awakening, she's going to get a lot better. Her offense goes over 400, giving her actually really good usability on her Sync Nuke, especially, when its power is already being increased a ton by the Super Awakening itself. The defensive stats go up, 361 defense, 433 special defense. Like, she can pretty much act as a support pretty much at this point, right? It's just that she can't buff her defenses really at all. She can just debuff offenses. If she actually had defensive buffs, you could literally use her as a support, especially because she already has the Support EX role, so she's got the Support EX function. Not over nearly 1,000 HP, nearly 1,000, just nearly there. Absolutely nuts, man. That's so funny. And then a Journeying Green awaits her passive, giving the team power buffs when enemies are poisoned, as well as lowering enemy rebuff on her first attack move hit, which is probably going to be Razor Leaf for the AoE, right? On top of the poison and all of that, meaning you can give your grass-type allies extra 30% in damage, as well as give all allies another 20% in damage just for being able to attack enemies that are poisoned. So obviously Leaf's still got this super good supportive ability and great utility that is really not aged, at least not aging out, especially considering how good this Super Awakening really is for her. Also, Piercing Gaze being able to miss, that's decent utility as well, but I'm not going to say it's anything like crazy. The rebuff in that support, though, is good. I think Sygna Suit Leaf's easily the best of the Kanto trio if you can get her to, like, 5 out of 5 investment, and also, up to Super Awakening as well, which really does make her look a lot stronger, too. So, definitely not a bad banner. Definitely not bad, but, you're going to want a lot of these characters with at least 3 out of 5 investment. Really a lot of them prefer, at least these guys prefer 5 out of 5. I think Sygna Suit Blue is fine without 5 out of 5. 3 out of 5 is good for him. Red is good at 3 out of 5 too, and quite appreciates this Soften Up one, which he gets. Is it at 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5? I actually don't know. What is it at? Soften Up 1, he gets at 5 out of 5. So you kind of do appreciate that tile a little bit more. And I mean, you can also get the extra utility stuff, but he's also good at 3 out of 5. He also is pretty good at 3 out of 5. You can definitely make him work at that move level for sure. But he does also like the stats from Super Awakening and stuff like that as well. So just things to consider with how aged these characters can seem to be, right? I mean, you're just going to want them with higher investment levels in order to actually make super good usage out of them compared to a lot of other characters you could go for instead, especially, when the Kanto Trio Neo Champions are up right now. That's just one big thing to consider. For Elio and Selene, oh god, it's a whole lot harder to go over because these characters are still really good. They're really recent, so they're really good. That doesn't necessarily translate, but whatever, not the point. Selene is focused on doing a lot of damage. She's got Nihil Meteor Beam, which is her main damage move, which is 4 gauge. It's a 2-turn charge-up move, but it is skipped if there is a circle in play, which she can apply the Alola Analysis Special Circle, and Elio... Did I say Selene? I don't know. Whatever. Selene? Elio can apply the Alola Solidarity Circle, which is able to, again, make it so this move can be used right away. It takes up a charge, erases special attack by 1 when getting ready to attack. It will not rise if it has gotten ready to attack. I mean, this is just too much to fucking know. It's so annoying. But the biggest thing you get to know is that if she charges up, she buffs her special attack. If she doesn't charge up, then she doesn't do that, but it doesn't really matter anyway. And the move never misses. The more enemy special defense is lowered, the greater the power of the move. It lowers enemy special defense by 1 when the enemy's poisoned. And again, it skips the preparation when a circle's in play. So you're basically using a 250, we'll say 1 out of 5, 210 base power move with defensive debuffing and also, you know, immediate usage and extra direct power buff with enemy special defense debuffs, which you're going to want to run for her anyway. Which she can do, I believe, pretty much just from this. Sorry, no, there we go. She can do special defense debuffs with this move, but she can also use it with Acid because of this passive here that she has, which raises chance of lowering enemy stat values whenever the additional effects of the additional effects of the user's moves, and also when an opponent's stat is lowered, it is lowered by double the stat ranks. So she can do -2 special defense debuffing with Acid, which is really good, right? And that obviously is going to be directly powering up the Meteor Beam, which can also, you know, debuff special defense itself when attacking enemies that are poisoned, which is also guaranteed here because you can guarantee poison by hitting enemies with your poison type attack, which is Acid, right? Soften Up 1, same good usability as Sygna Suit Red, except at 1 out of 5 she has no multipliers. Probably her biggest issue. So at 1 out of 5, obviously Selene's got the great usability of having a stupidly high-powered what the hell? God damn it. Base power move here at 1 out of 5. Just 210 power at 1 out of 5 is already really good. It's got its own multiplier as well. Good debuffing utility, especially being AoE. Guaranteed poison, and also the ability to set her own circle, which is directly powering herself up and allowing her to skip the preparation period here of her move. So that's obviously really, really good effects to have here. I mean, this makes her just a lot stronger. She's got good self-sufficiency as well. Critical hit rate +3, special type +4, special moves next by 1. She's going to be doing great damage. She's like the best rock damage dealer in the game, even better than that of Champion Silver, though Silver's got maybe the utility over her. I don't even know. The point is that she's stupidly strong, man. She really is. And with varying levels of investment, she just gets even better. Where she's got herself the Sync move power up when the special circle is in play, as well as when enemy special defense is debuffed. I think those are her only methods of power up. Yeah. Plus the Sync nodes here. Those are her methods of getting her Sync powered up, which those are pretty good, especially when you consider that she's also going to have the circle activated. Probably going to be running her with Elio, which is going to have an extra buff applied to the circle, as well as his own circle, and potentially Rock Zone. And special defensive debuffs and whatnot, right? So she's gonna be hitting really, really hard, especially off of her already really high offensive stat, 552. That's nuts. That is absolutely nuts. And well, that's really some of the best things about her. She's already so strong. Guaranteed crits here off Soften Up 1 as well just makes this even better. She's got other things, like the Alola Special Circle Extension, which is really helpful for her, because that is one of the biggest issues I had with her on release, is the fact that her circle just would not last long enough. You wanted to run her with another partner that sets a circle, which most of the time was not really an issue, and I mean, it still hasn't, but it was one of the issues that I personally just had with her. You know, you don't have to look to me for guidance, but that's just one thing that I personally did not enjoy about her, was the fact that she needed to have a circle up in order to actually skip the preparation on this move, which is fair considering how strong it is, but also it could be, it could work very, 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 very hard against her until she, gets circle extension, which helps, but it's mostly the Super Awakening which does it in for me, because she gets Trainer Sync Redemption and debut Alola Circle on the field. Which, this isn't like that fantastic, but combine it with the Circle Extension, and this should last until the first Sync move. Most of the time, there's obviously going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot that goes into that, but still, these two tiles here really make me like this character a lot more. Not that I would get her to 10 out of 5 investment, considering I don't even have her to begin with, so that'd be one hell of a journey to go through. But this is easily one of the best things they could have given her. Another usage of the circle is really strong for her. This makes her look so much stronger. Not even to mention the fact that she's getting so much offensive stat, like offensive stat buff here, the defensive stat buffs, the HP buffs, the speed buffs, and the Sync power buff, and her move power up. 336 power on her buddy move is really, really good. And obviously, with Super Awakening, that same thing applies to Sygna Suit Red as well. Just wanted to mention. I didn't go over it, but his Blast Burn and Sync power are directly increased because of the Super Awakening. But anyway, yeah, this Super Awakening is nuts for her. It increases her ability to do this high power amounts of damage for longer durations in a fight, and it just makes it even better. It's so good. She's got other abilities as well. Ramming speed to power up her moves, hit poison opponent special boost to give her special moves next when actually, using her moves, which is obviously going to be making this look even stronger. Even stronger. This character is a mistake. She's that good. Speed buffs, which can be good for self-sufficiency and speed management or gauge management. Setting circle special boost, giving her pretty much double dosage of special moves next when setting her own circle, and also just free special moves next whenever an ally sets their circle, which, if it's in Elio's case, it's another special moves next on top of it, right? And then other things like prep posture, giving her more special moves next if you have to actually take up a counterattack position, which, is kind of what you're kind of trying to avoid with having the circle up, but it's there, I guess, and ready for anything, having damage reduction when in a counterattack position, and a few other things. But those are easily like her best abilities. The fact she can increase her sync nuke, extend her circle, and increase her damage just that much really makes her so ludicrously strong, and easily one of the best damage dealers in the game, if you can get her to 10 out of 5, but even then, still, like 5 out of 5 is also really good for her because the circle extension is super good. So she's a great character to go for if you need a very high-powered rock damage dealer. She is one of the best in the game. I would say one of the best damage dealers in general in the game as well, just because, especially now with having the circle able to stay up. We love it. We love to see it. Thank you, Selene. Awesome. Okay, so very good character. And we've also got Elio here. Why did he not get field? Why is he not field? He should have been support field, not support sprint. Doesn't matter, though. He's still good. He's still good. His defensive stats are good, of course, here. He's Stakataka, whatever. He actually is able to buff his defenses by 6 on entry, which is only for him, sadly. But he does kind of make up for that anyway. He's got himself the ability to buff both offensive stats whenever he activates a field for the entire field of play or the ally field of play, which he's able to set the circle and rock zone, so that's +4 on the offenses for any characters that need it. Smackdown for a spammable move, mostly, that's it. Also impervious for preventing stat debuffs on himself, so those defenses are going nowhere. I think this is also a solo grid that I'm looking at. Anyway, let's get that out of the way. He's got himself, again, Max Smackdown for a spammable move, Alola Solidarity, which sets the Alola defensive circle, which does stack with Selene's Alola analysis circle, so if you want to get double circle buffs, more special moves next, maintain Selene's buddy move even more, it's a great combination. These characters, again, are stupid. S-T-U-P-I-D, stupid. Well, Selene mostly, but Elio's support of her is, really good as well. Like, these characters were actually great anniversary bait if you look back at it, just because of how strong they are. At least how strong Selene is and how well Elio's able to support Selene. Again, that's solid Solidarity, really good. He's also got a ginormous Rock Tomb, which is able to be used when defense is raised to the maximum, so unconditionally, pretty much. Lowers enemy speed by 2, turns field of play into Rock Zone, increases physical moves next and special moves next of all allies by 1. Yeah, again, more buffs for Selene, but obviously those physical attackers as well. Like, Elio's a really, really good support for any rock character because he's able to apply buffs to both of them. He can apply physical and special moves next buffs, and both here, and buff both offensive stats, meaning he's going to be good for not only Selene, but also Sygna Suit Silver, Neo Champion Silver. I keep calling him Sygna Suit. It's actually bad. Paolo, Sygna Suit Diantha, Emmet, Classic Blue, Costume Hilda. I mean, literally any rock damage dealer you think of is going to be benefited a lot underneath of Elio's different buffs, right? Speed debuffs are nice for Cakewalk, which a lot of rock types have. A lot of rock types have Cakewalk. Just, for example, Grant, Cakewalk. Sygna Suit Brock, Cakewalk right there. I mean, there's other examples as well, not outside of rock types, but don't really have to go into it. Diantha's a big one too. So, yeah, really appreciate it. Also, that Rock Zone, very nice, because obviously you're going to want to have Rock Zone. That's going to be good to be extended under Diantha, especially with her own sets of Rock Zone as well. And, of course, maybe even Elio himself could maintain the Rock Zone kind of on his own, if need be. So the extra set of the sets of Rock Zone that he has is good. And he's also got himself his Buddy move, which... Oh, buddy. Restores HP of all allies by 20%, restores user HP by 20%, applies gradual healing to all allies. This is 40% healing for him, 20% healing for the whole team, and a gradual healing, so that's good, right? That's 20% for the rest of the team, I guess. I should say, it's not... You can read. And again, gradual healing is also nice there. This would have been a great trainer move to have if you were Sygna Suit Blue. Imagine if they gave Sygna Suit Blue a trainer move like this instead of like Hydro Cannon and gave him his current Super Awakening. I honestly would be tooting a completely different tone about the guy. He would actually be nuts. He would be so much better in the modern day, but it doesn't matter. It's okay. This is a good trainer move for sure, good healing and whatnot, especially considering he has trainer move NPR on it. Does not have Master Healer, which is a little bit annoying, but it doesn't really matter considering how good his defenses are and how well he can take an attack anyway. And this is pretty much just him at 1 out of 5, right? Being able to set the circle, be able to apply good healing to himself, being able to buff physical and special moves next and apply the Rock Zone, being able to buff ally offenses by up to +4. These are good traits for a 1 out of 5 support. Definitely not bad. Again, more recent supportive character gives him, at least for the most part, an edge up on at least the older ones. Hello. So yeah, very, very good. The only thing I don't really like about him is his gauge is horrible. I mean, the speed's fine, right? Like, if you give him the Sprinty X roll, it's fine, I guess, but he doesn't really have any gauge management. And for the most part, that doesn't really change throughout his extra move levels here. He gets Smackdown Gauge Refresh 9, which is decent, but that's really his only like gauge managing ability. Again, if you want to just kind of look through it, that's the only thing he's got. He's got Circle Gauge up, which helps too, but not nearly enough, especially if you're going to be running him with, like, you know, a decent example here, a 4 gauge move user, which is pretty strong and pretty solid in her own right, and pretty effective with managing her own gauge because of like her speed buffs or whatever else, and being able to use this passive is really saving her gauge a lot. But with Elio specifically, you know, you're going to really want those passes because of how slow he is to manage gauge. That's, again, one of his big Achilles heels, I guess. Other than that, though, he's really good. He's got Alola Circle Extension, offensive buffs if you want to use an attack move. Again, this is only really useful if you need like those offensive buffs very quickly, but you know they are there for that. First Aid 4, Rock Zone Team Physical Damage Reduction, Rock Zone Team Special Damage Reduction, Rock Zone Extension, Trainer MPR, and Alola Solidarity MPR. Yes, he's got MPR on his Circle. Oh, baby. Circle MPR is really good. Infinite uses of this circle give you more physical and special moves next, give you more damage reduction, give you more power buffs for the whole team. It's amazing. It's probably one of the best tiles he's got. Easily, I would say. And this little circle extension, you know, same case, being able to manage having that circle up for longer, being able to rely less upon NPRs to keep it up is really, really good too. First Aid 4 for applying healing for it to himself without having to use the buddy move could be good, or sorry, the trainer move, you know, could be good for preserving uses of that. And again, NPR on that gives you just more instances of healing. Rock Zone extension, pretty good as well. He, you know, only sets Rock Zone twice, so having some sort of extension on that is good. It makes him rely less upon Sygna Suit Diantha, though you probably still do want to run him with her anyway, but, you know, you can probably manage without her, especially with the Super Awakening, which we'll go into in a bit. And then the team physical and special damage reduction here, giving you that 20% extra damage reduction for the whole team, and a Rock Zone, which, you know, is good to apply because of the extra healing he can do here for the team, and does make up for the fact he can't buff team defenses a little bit. I think that's also probably his biggest weakness, is being able to be unable to buff team defenses. But I mean, he's got the circle to help out with that and the healing and to get these damage reduction abilities, which kind of, you know, make up for that for the most part. So Elio does have great abilities as well. Not saying you can pick them all up because Jesus, but you know, if you want to like pick and choose what you can use, especially depending upon your team setup, like if you've got Sygna Suit Diantha or something, you know, you probably don't need that Rock Zone extension, right? Just for an example. So that's good to have. All these abilities are good to have, just kind of pick and choose what you want, for sure. And under Super Awakening, well, over 400 defenses, over 1,000 HP, a speed stat becomes a little bit more respectable, and he gets Ultra Stacked, which is Ultra Stacked. At start 1, some Sync Acceleration could be good, you know, combine that with Champion Silver, who has good Sync Acceleration, as well as Paolo. These characters are not bad for it on entry, so being able to work with that is a little bit better. Rock Zone Team Stat, Debuff Immunity, that is also very, very nice. A lot of enemies like to debuff, so if you can make the team immune to that, like, hello Morgan Ultimate Battle, good lord, then obviously do it. Sadly, in that case, that specific instance, she does so much debuffing on literally turn 1, or before you take any moves, that you're going to have to play around it. You're still going to have to play around it, but, I mean, if you can maintain the Rock Zone for the rest of the battle, well, you're kind of living high. It's good. And then first Sync move Rock Zone, being able to apply Rock Zone on the Sync move, that gives him 3 sets of Rock Zone. That really helps out with him relying on Sygna Suit Diantha for extra Rock Zone plus extension. That makes it so he is pretty much, I would say, fully self-sufficient, especially in shorter battles, of being able to set Rock Zone for his team. Again, whether that be Champion Silver Paolo or, Alt Selene or Sygna Suit Diantha, even, well, granted she sets Rock Zone herself, but it's still classic Elisa Blue, classic Blue, or Emmett, or whoever you want to run him with. Those characters are all going to really, really appreciate him having the pretty much full self-sufficiency and be able to set Rock Zone. I think, again, Elio's worst abilities is the fact that he can't buff team defenses, and also the fact that he cannot manage Gauge extremely well. Those are 2 very bad abilities, or at least 2 pretty bad abilities to be lacking, but I do think Elio also makes up for them with his actual strengths. That Circle, that Rock Zone, the ability to buff physical and special moves next as well as he does, the damage reduction passes, the healing, I think it mostly makes up for it, but again, it is kind of still a weakness of his, and just something to consider. I mean, every character's got their flaws, right? So this banner's definitely good. These 2 characters are really, really solid, really, really strong. I'm not going to say they're better than the Kanto champions, Neo champions, or whatever to go for, but I mean, if you do like these characters and these kits and whatnot, they are very, very good. They really still are, and that Super Awakening helped them both out quite a bit. If you can get them to 10 out of 10, right? But yeah. Promote for better Super Awakening attainability, please, in some method. Let them hear your cries. Our cries. Yeah, whatever. I'll see you later. Hope you all enjoyed. Again, I don't think that you should be summoning on these banners, but hey, if you want to, go for it. I think these characters at the very least are the most worth it in terms of these 2 banners. Other than that, Kanto champions, those are definitely what we should be prioritizing, or Sygna Suit Giovanni. Yeah, just let's go there. Whatever. I'll see you later. Hope you all enjoyed. Peace.